This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 36.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 36, and I'm your host, Alex. In today's episode, I will be talking about something very, very crucial to any and every online business and many entrepreneurs around the world doing different things. This is an episode that will be based on my personal experience on my entrepreneur life. Because when you're running your own business and especially online business, when you're an entrepreneur, things aren't always bright and sunny and beautiful. There are sometimes really dark periods when bad things happen to you and to your business. And it really sucks when something like that happens, and it could have been avoided if you did things just a little differently. So that's pretty much what this episode is about. This episode is about me losing my online business more than once, mostly based on my own mistakes that I've made over the years. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope you will learn a few things and you will apply what you learned today into your business so you don't repeat my mistakes, because that's the point of me writing my blog post. This is that's the point of doing this podcast, so my listeners and my readers learn things that will help them move forward in their business and that will help them protect their business if they already have one. So let's get started. I guess we should begin this whole story and this episode with a backstory of my experience and the whole story of how I started online and what I've been doing. So in October 2007, this is when I discovered the concept of online marketing and affiliate marketing, to be more precise. And I joined a training program that was teaching me everything from scratch, because when I started, I had no clue what marketing is, how to market, how to build websites, how to, look for a proper niche, how to get traffic. I didn't know anything at all. But the idea of an affiliate marketing, when you basically promote someone else's products and you get paid a commission per every sale, was really, really attractive to me. And I've decided to learn that and to do that. So October 2007, I started learning affiliate marketing, and I was so excited about it that I was applying my knowledge into real life right away. I was taking as much action as I could possibly take. Sometimes I was staying up for 30 or even 40 hours straight in front of my computer because I was so excited and fired up about this whole online business and the possibility from working, from home and not having to go to an office job, which I previously had and I completely hated. So for instance, one day I would learn how to make a website using WordPress, and the next day I would spend the whole day setting up the website right away. As I mentioned, I was taking action and I was doing much more than the program was teaching me, because, I was digging deeper and I was trying to find out more about everything that I learned. How could I make colors on my website? How could I make some kind of modifications? How could I add images? How could I do this? How could I do that? But the whole point that I'm trying to make here, and I hope those who haven't started a business yet, they would understand, there's no such a thing as shortcut to riches and to success. You have to work hard, and especially at the beginning, you'll have to work the hardest, I think, because you don't know anything. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a long process. It takes your a time investment and patience and hard working as well. Anyway, that's beyond the point of the story. So I started working really hard. I started making websites and doing keyword research, and soon enough I started getting traffic. And I think within the first week or the first 2 weeks, probably first 2 weeks, I made my very first commission, and it was on ClickBank back then, and it was $33 and some cents. I still remember that. Just imagine, that was 2007, October. That was more than 8 years ago. And I still remember that first sale of $33. And I've never been as excited about anything in my life up to that point because I realized that it works. Hard work pays off. Sure, I spent many more hours into that business and I only earned $33, which isn't much, but it wasn't the amount. It was a proof for me that this concept does work. And then I started thinking, okay, well, then how could I make more of those $33 commissions? How could I get more people to my sites? How could I get, more content out there? And I'm not going to go into all the details. I kept learning. I kept applying things. And I think within 3 or 4 months, I was making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, which was more than I was actually making at the office job that I previously had. And if you fast forward to June or July 2008, I was making about $7,000 to $8,000 every single month from my room, sitting in front of my computer. Life was beautiful, and it kept going on for a little while. And I started slacking off a bit. I was working a lot less hours. I was going out a lot more and just hanging out with my friends, spending time on my hobbies and pretty much all of my time instead of working because the websites were set up, content was there, and the sales were just coming in. Life was good. That didn't last for very long because what happened in 2009? Actually, in 2008, the financial crisis hit USA, and most of my customers were from US. But in 2008, it was still working. It was still fine, although I saw that the sales are going down a bit. There's less people buying. But in 2009, people just stopped buying. It was, every day I would make like half, or every week I would make half of what I made the previous week. So the income was going down really fast, and I started jumping around, looking everywhere. What's going on? Is my website not working? No, everything was working. Everything was fine. I was still getting traffic, and I was probably getting almost just as much traffic or the same amount of traffic to my websites as I usually got. So just as many people saw my content, just as many people read about the offers that I was putting out there, but people just stopped buying because people got a lot more careful and a lot smarter with their money when the financial crisis hit. And I'm sure a lot of people couldn't afford things anymore, but most who could still afford it, they were just a lot more careful because everyone lived in fear that there will be no more jobs, there will be no more retirement funds, there will be no more money. And people started really reevaluating their needs. But I didn't. I didn't reevaluate their needs. I didn't start thinking of, changing to a new market. I just kept trying to promote the same products that I was promoting. And this is when I started also spending more and more money into PPC, pay-per-click advertising, trying to get even more people come to my offers. So I was spending even more money, but I was not making more sales because I was selling a wrong product. I was selling something that I thought people wanted, but it was definitely not what people needed. And here's the biggest mistake that I've made, the crucial mistake that I made with my whole online business back then is that I did not diversify anything. I was promoting 1 or 2 products in a single niche, and that was the huge mistake that I made and that I didn't think of beforehand. That if that niche died down, if people interested in that product would stop buying that product for whatever reason, or if the interest itself to the product died, I would just stop making sales and I would stop receiving those commissions for sales. I didn't think of that, but that's exactly what happened to me. So that was the first big strike, sometime 2009. I can't recall the exact month, but there you go. That's what happened to me. It killed my business totally. And I started doing different things from then on. I started working more on the Extra Paycheck blog, and I tried some different ventures, and I tried going into selling search engine optimizations to local companies, which wasn't a great idea either because of where I live, which is Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are really, really behind on everything online in this province for some reason. So pretty much all the clients that I got for SEO or any other marketing services, online marketing services, were local clients from US once again. I got people calling me from Texas and from New York, from California, and I would get those clients. Not many, but it was good enough still. I was making some money. I was paying my rent, and actually I was making pretty good money doing that. But I still wanted to go back online, so I built up a website or 2 websites. And in 2010, for different reasons, I've decided to take a trip to Europe, and it was a long trip. I think I left for total of 9 months that I spent out of Canada, out of my home, basically traveling through Europe and US and some other places anyway. So that's the 9 months that I wasn't working at all. And the money was still coming in from some websites, from 1 or 2 websites that I had. Online money was coming in, so I didn't really care much about it. I would check my bank account. I have money. Great, I can keep on traveling. I didn't care about anything else. So that was a second mistake. Eventually, what ended up happening is that my credit card that was on file for my hosting, for my domain names, for a few other things, even for some payments, that card expired in 2010, and I didn't notice because, I was just relaxing somewhere on the beach, no internet access for 3 weeks. Let's say I was just, having fun and enjoying life. And I never got those notifications that my credit card is no longer valid and that my hosting is getting shut down, that my domain names are going to disappear if I don't renew them soon enough. And when I finally got back to civilization, I realized that I lost my websites, pretty much all of my websites. And that was a huge hit. This is when it finally hit me that, first of all, yes, I should pay more attention to my online business, but that's not the point. The point is that I didn't diversify once again. It was 1 or 2 websites making me money. Those both websites died, and I wasn't making any more money. Another thing that matters here, another diversification that I could have done is what I'm doing right now, actually. I have different hosting accounts. Every service that I use for my business, I buy it from a different provider. So let's say I don't go on GoDaddy, buy a domain name and buy hosting from them as well, and host my podcast there as well, and do some other things that they offer. I don't do that. Now I buy hosting for my podcast from hosting specific company, which is Libsyn in my case. Then I buy my website hosting from Host with Love, and I also have another hosting plan with Host the Name, and I have a third hosting plan with another company, Wealth Affiliate. So even if there is some kind of a problem, I could simply transfer my files from one hosting to another. I'd like to have backups, and some of my websites run on one hosting plan, other websites run on another hosting plan, and so on. Now, all my domains are bought from 2 different companies who are specialized in domain names. And so yeah, I'm not only diversifying by trying to build different businesses online, but I also diversify my services that I'm using, the payment methods. What I'm using now is some I pay by credit card, some others I pay by PayPal, some other services take money directly from my checking account. So I know that if something did happen, I wouldn't lose everything at once. Now, since we live in 2015, it's a lot easier because we could actually set up reminders, and we could set up processes that would either renew our credit card information automatically, or we would get a notice way in advance telling us, hey, look, this card is expiring and you have this card linked up with this account, and this account. So you have to update those accounts immediately before your payments stop going through and you start losing your hosting or your domain names, whatever it is. So that's another important thing. But as I was saying from the very beginning of this episode, diversifying your income is incredibly important. And this, if you don't do that, you could actually kill your whole business one day because something bad happens. And yes, in my case, let's say the second time it happened, it was totally my fault, 110% my fault, because I didn't pay attention to my accounts, and when stuff expired, and I forgot that I would have to renew all of those things, right? First time around, it was a bit of both. It wasn't, the financial crisis, it wasn't really my fault. However, it was my fault that I was only selling one product, and it was it wasn't a necessity product. It was more of a luxury thing that would be the first thing to go if people stopped having money. That's where people would stop buying luxury stuff that they don't really need. Now, a few other things that could happen that you should keep in mind is that, let's say you're ranking really, really well on Google. You're ranking number 1 for your keyword phrase. Well, the thing is that even if you're doing everything ethically, Google may change the algorithm somehow one day and you're going to lose that ranking. Meaning that if this is your only source of traffic and if this is the only website that's ranking for you and the only website that's making you money, you have a big shot at losing your whole business overnight. If your hosting company decides to shut down for whatever reason and they shut down, you could lose your whole website overnight. If your domain name company does the same, which, those cases are very unlikely, but they could potentially happen. And I'm not just talking about domain names and website ranking and hosting, but, the affiliate program that you're working with could stop working, or they could just stop paying you for whatever reason. And there's just so many things that we can't predict that could possibly happen. This is why it is crucial and super important to start diversifying your business as soon as you can. And I could give you a few examples on those. Let's say if you are sticking to online marketing, you could just build more different websites, work with different niches, and sell and promote different things. You can also start creating your own courses and selling them on platforms like Udemy, and there's basically so many platforms right now where you could sell an online course. You could offer your knowledge to others in a form of training or coaching. Now, there are also a lot of platforms where you could do that and you could coach people through Skype or webinars or whatever else. But this is something else to consider. Another thing you could consider is making your own products, and they don't have to be digital products or online courses. You could actually make your own physical products, manufacture them and sell them on platforms like Amazon and Etsy and your own online shop. Doesn't really matter where you sell them. But the point is that if you're already making some money with your online business, don't just do what I did in 2008, 2009. Don't just go around having fun and spending all your money on brand new cars and travels and, having an amazing life. It's important. Yes, you have to spoil yourself from time to time, but it would be a lot better and wiser to start investing that money into other business opportunities. Now, depending on where you live, it could also be really, really smart to get into real estate. I know there's some places in the United States where you could buy real estate for really cheap and then rent it out pretty expensive. In many other places, it would make a lot of sense to invest into real estate. Maybe buy a business of some sort locally, open a bakery or a car wash or anything of that sort. There are many businesses that you could start with relatively low investment that would provide kind of secure income for you. So these were just a few examples. There are many others, but the whole point of today's episode is diversify everything. Go into more businesses if possible or whenever possible. Reinvest your money in new businesses. An interesting statistic that I keep hearing all over the time and all over the place is that most millionaires have 7 income streams. That means that most recent millionaires in the US are making money from 7 different places. So investments, lending money, creating a business, royalties, whatever it is. But they have money coming from different places and all the time. Not just one little business, one little thing that if that thing dies, your income dies. That's not the way to go. Unfortunately, I had to learn it the hard way, but you don't have to. Diversify your income, work harder, build more businesses. All right, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll put up a show notes page at extrapodcast.com/36. I'll share some links and some resources with you. So go there, check it out. You could also leave a comment on that, on this specific episode on that show notes page. You can also subscribe to the show at extrapodcast.com/iTunes. This is where you can also leave a rating and a review for the show, which I would greatly appreciate. It will help me move the show forward. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.